Sorry about that, guys. Family came over, so I had to stop the recording. But now we're ready to resume where we were. I stopped the timer as well. I think we're ready, so here we go. Start. Let's go.
Last thing I need now. Eyes peeled, mouth closed.
So Final Fantasy VIII has a very interesting system called the junction system. The junction system, what you do is you assign every party member, you assign them a GF, which is your summonings. You assign them one or several GFs, and what they do is they unlock the options of your character. So it's mandatory that unless you wanna get stuck with the attack option, unless you wanna get stuck with that, it's mandatory for you to actually assign a GF to every character in your party, because that's what's gonna unlock the rest of their abilities, be it summon, magic, or any of the other ones that you unlock by training the GFs themselves. So the thing about Final Fantasy VIII is when you don't know this, when you don't know that you can use the junction system on your favor, the game is a lot harder. The game really tests your abilities. But when you do, when you learn how to use the junction system on your favor, it gives you a massive advantage. Also, if you pay attention and you analyze what the weaknesses of your enemies can be, you can be pretty safe. One of the things that I like the most about this junction system is some enemies will use some types of magic that could be very overpowered, and this could leave you in a pinch in more than one occasion.
Any plan of attack? Plow right through them.
But when you know how to counter their tactics, when you know how to prepare for that enemy, then you can actually gain life out of the magic that they could use instead of losing HP, and that's all due to the junction system. It's pretty much a make or break system, but you have to know how to use it. When you start, well, it takes a while to get used to. When you're not familiar with it can take a while for you to know what you're doing and how to do it. But once you played a couple of times, you pretty much know what you need in order to develop tactics against a particular enemy and beat it much more easily. Also, you can increase your resistance, your endurance. You can increase your defense against status ailments. It's amazing. So a lot of people hate the draw mechanic in Final Fantasy VIII because that makes it so that if you want some type of magic, you can only get it if you draw from enemies, at least at the beginning. There will be other means for you to get powerful magic even if you don't draw it from enemies, but that's down the line. Like, the more you play, the more options you get. But when you just begin, you have to draw magic. You have to draw cure, you have to draw fire, you have to draw ice, lightning, all types of magic, either from draw points or from other people. But in my opinion, the draw mechanic is amazing. Not only because you can get those magic that I was talking about. But you can even get GFs from enemies, like powerful entities that will help you in your quest. And this you get from enemies themselves, just due to the draw mechanic. That's how awesome it is. It really made it feel like you could gain a massive advantage in the game just by paying attention to what you do and paying attention to what the enemy has and what you could get from it. It's amazing. Another thing about Final Fantasy VIII that was amazing to me was the summons. Again, not just because of the use they had out of battle, but at the same time their design, their power, their abilities, the abilities that you gained from them, and training them. They were just amazing. They're probably, yeah, I think they're my favorite summons. Let me see. So the Final Fantasy games that I have played, I played one, but I didn't play one for long. I played one until the moment that I had to rescue the princess at the beginning. So that means I didn't play it for too long. But the reason for that being that being the first Final Fantasy, it had a lot of things to fix. It had a lot of things to get better, and I didn't have the patience. But still, I didn't think it was a bad game. But I can't say that it's a game that doesn't tell you anything. And I got discouraged because the more I played, the less I felt connected to the main character, which, as everybody knows, is the Warrior of Light. He doesn't even have a name, he's just the Warrior of Light. So one of my biggest surprises was that when you start the game, you got no equipment. You have absolutely no equipment, so you're pretty much naked in RPG terms to go and face all the enemies that you get, which, may I remind you, this game had random encounters. So everywhere you went, you will find enemies, but you have no equipment. You could have beaten the enemies without the equipment, because I did. It was very hard, but yes, you could. So it wasn't like the lack of equipment was gonna break the game for you, because it wasn't. It doesn't. But it did make it more tedious, because the damage that you would inflict your opponents would be very low, while you would take a lot of damage. One thing that you are given is a fair amount of money. You're not being made rich, but you are given enough money to buy equipment for your party, and that's what makes the difference. So the way Final Fantasy 1 did it was they gave you no equipment, absolutely nothing, and if you wanted to go and face everyone just like that, you could, and that was already a hard way to play the game. But then when you found out that you had money in your pocket, that you could at least buy equipment to help you in your quest, that made it so much better. That was a massive incentive, because you knew that now you had a chance. You'd be like, oh man, now I do have a chance, now I can do something against all these monsters and enemies that I'm facing. But if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't know, and the game would be so hard. What else can be said? No, I think that's it. I haven't played Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 3 I have for the Nintendo 3DS. I have played it, and it's a good game, but it's also so hard. I love a couple of things about the game that I won't say because they will be spoilers. But I have to admit the game is good enough that I love things that happened in the game, but I have also to admit that the game is really hard. The jumps in difficulty are just crazy. You leave a cave from which you can beat enemies, and then the enemies that you face right after those, there's no way you can beat them because they are so hard. Their escalation is real, I'll tell you that. But that's what discouraged me from finishing the game. So I'm gonna say I got halfway through and I enjoyed what I got, but I just reached a point in which I died so many times and I had to travel so much to get to that particular destination that I said to myself, I think I'm gonna leave it here. If you are familiar with the game, I will just say that there is this tower in which there are no save points, and you keep facing enemies and you're running out of everything, potions, MP, everything, and you reach a certain level and you're always thinking, I hope this is the end, I hope I'm reaching the end, I hope I'm getting to a save point at least, and you're not. So you're playing for a long time, you don't have a save point, and you spend a lot of time getting there, all your resources are gone, and suddenly anyone could kill you, which it happened to me. I got killed by someone and I just felt, oh man, how long did that take? It took a long time for me to get here, to lose everything. I don't even have resources to start over. So I said, you know what, forget it. Because when I reached that far I thought, yeah, well, if I still have potions I can at least do something. But then when I got killed I was like, yeah, no, I cannot be bothered. So I wasn't bothered, and I just left it like that. And that was the last time I played the game. I should go back to it at some point. Final Fantasy 4 and 5 I haven't played. Doesn't mean I don't want to play them, I do. Especially the re-editions with the new side quests and side stories that they made for it. 4 and 5, well, again, I've never played it, so I don't even know what to say. Then 6 I played. 6 is a fantastic game, it's so good. For a 2D Final Fantasy, there's no doubt that is the best 2D Final Fantasy game. The thing about that game, what can I say about it? Okay, so the game itself has a massive amount of characters. It's crazy. You keep running into people. Everyone has different abilities, and you have to select who do you want to have in your party, which is kind of a pain, because when you have those many characters, you want to have as many of them in your party as you can, but usually you don't. So you have to choose who do you want to take with you and who has to stay behind, and then everyone has a story to tell, everyone has something in their life that has happened to them, obviously. So that's very nice, very cool. It was very interesting. And then, well, as everybody knows, that one of the most compelling arch enemies in the Final Fantasy franchise is Kefka. Kefka is this laughing clown figure that not only does he continually brings tragedy and war everywhere he goes, trouble,
So, what's with the sweltering heat around here?
but he's a very well written character with some insane motivation.
Is likely attributable to the astral shock. We're close.
But he's it's like one of those enemies that you just love to hate, because he's always making things hard for everybody. So I was fine with playing the game knowing that he was gonna be the main antagonist in the end, because I hated his guts. So I reached a point in the story where you have to go looking for your friends again, go and try and find them all. And when I had to do all the backtracking, that's where I lost motivation. I thought, this game is great, I love it, I hate the antagonist so much, I'm really involved in this story, but I'm not looking forward to finding everybody again. So I stopped playing. And this happened during the PlayStation. Actually, this I played on my PlayStation 2. But I still had to have a PlayStation 1 memory card to be able to save this game. And I only got Final Fantasy 6 because back then there was a Final Fantasy 10 demo included in the box with Final Fantasy 6.
Must return for more.
What? I didn't think you were into street food.
Tasty, cheap.
That's the one reason I got it,
What's not to
because I
like?
was dying to play Final Fantasy 10 in the demo, and I could only get the demo if I bought Final Fantasy 6. So one thing led to another.
What's up for a bite?
There you go. Awesome game. If you have patience, if you don't like backtracking, if you don't mind backtracking, especially finding everybody you already met, because you will lose them at some point, then I highly recommend it. Then 7, which we've already talked about. Materia is an awesome system. Sephiroth is the body of the bodies because he's so cool. The coolest. I'm gonna say Kefka is the craziest. Sephiroth is the coolest. And then there is something about Ultimecia in Final Fantasy VIII that I won't say. I won't say it. But when you play it, you'll notice that Ultimecia is a very interesting enemy as well, even though you don't spend much time getting to know her. In fact, she's probably the enemy that you spend the least time with or getting to know. But there's something about her that when you play yourself, you'll find out. And that will give you a very, very cool notion of how things can change for everybody in the future if we don't take care of the feelings of ours. It's interesting. I'm telling you, Final Fantasy VIII is amazing. The Final Fantasy 9, which we didn't talk too much about, but Final Fantasy 9 is this amalgamation of everything that makes Final Fantasy very, very good and worth spending your time type of game. Final Fantasy 9 has so much going for it. Not just because the story is nice and the characters are really cool, but also because every single detail that connects Final Fantasy IX to every other Final Fantasy game, and every single Easter egg and every single story, every single tragedy that happened in everybody's lives, the motivation of each character. Final Fantasy IX was very good. The only reason that it's not my favorite is because I always thought that the 3 Final Fantasy games for the PlayStation 1, yeah, or Final Fantasy X as well, were equally as good in my eyes. But when I played 8, I realized that there's just something special, so it became my favorite. But 9 would be a close second. If 8 is my favorite, 9 is my second favorite, then 7 would be my third favorite, and then 10 would be my fourth favorite. There's one thing about 10 that I have to highlight over every other Final Fantasy, and it's the battle system is just perfect. Battle system is perfect, absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change anything. The turns are already set from the beginning. You don't have to wait until a bar fills up. The enemy doesn't have to wait until a bar fills up. Turns are simply assigned from the beginning randomly. So you'll get your turn, your enemy will get your turn, but none of you will have to wait for a bar to fill up before you can do anything. Then according to whose turn is it, you can plan who is gonna attack who, or what type of ability you can use, because your abilities can either delay the enemy's actions, or they can increase yours, like casting haste on all of your party members, which when you do, doubles or triples the actions that you can take before your enemy can do anything. But it's so good that you have the turns already assigned, and now you can check who's doing what, and what are the consequences for maybe you do an ability that takes a lot of damage off the enemy, but maybe that ability takes some of your actions that you've been assigned already out. So yes, Final Fantasy VIII is my overall favorite, 9 is a close second, 7 is my third favorite, because, well, everybody loves 7 because of Cloud, Sephiroth, and then Tifa and everybody else. And then yeah, I said that 10 would be my fourth favorite, but if I have to choose battle systems, then 10 is probably first. The battle system in 10 is the best turn-based out of all Final Fantasies. And then if we talk JRPGs, well, there's only one better turn-based battle system that I can think of that would be better than Final Fantasy X, and that's Persona 5's. But that's a whole different story, because in Persona 5 you can know who's next, but you don't have a whole list of who is doing what. And then Persona 5 has this interesting mechanic in which, even though it plays like a JRPG, like a classic one, turn-based obviously, you have to also take into consideration the fact that that you have to exploit weaknesses so much. The thing is, you can just use attack, but only when you are overpowered. If you are many levels over your opponents, then yes, you can just use attack. But when you're around the same level, which it rarely happens unless you make use of a exploit. If you don't use the super famous exploit down in Mementos to level up, and you just level up as the game goes, which is the way I did my first playthrough of Persona 5, you will always be on edge, because you know that you need to take their weaknesses into consideration if you want the battle to be in your favor. And that's very cool. The one thing that is not so cool is depending on the persona that you're equipped, you will be weak to some elements or not. And if one of the enemies that you're facing exploits your weakness, you will not only get a lot of health points taken out from you, but you will also lose a turn in battle, while the enemy will gain another turn. What is annoying about that part of the game is that with the main character in Persona 5, which was supposed to be called was Akira Kurusu, but they decided that it was a better name, Ren Amamiya, for the anime, so I don't know which is which anymore. So Kurusu or Amamiya, Ren or Akira. I like Akira actually, so I'm just gonna call him main character. The thing about main character is that if you change your personas, you can change your weaknesses, so you can make it so that you are never weak to any of the attacks of the enemies. But the problem is the other party members are stuck with one persona. They cannot change their personas. So if one party member is weak to wind attacks, he will always be weak to wind attacks regardless of who you face, which your enemies can exploit to attack you with wind attacks all the time, which would make that party member useless, kind of. And like that with every other element. But hey, the persona conversation is one that we have for a different day. For the timing, coming back to Final Fantasy in general, again, Final Fantasy X's battle system is amazing. I totally recommend it, especially now that it's has been released in HD remaster for a while. So that's how I'm gonna do. And if I rank them, I'm gonna say Final Fantasy 15 is a 7 out of 10. Final Fantasy X is a 9.5 out of 10. Final Fantasy 9 is a 10 out of 10. 8 is a 9.7 out of 10. And 7 is a 9 out of 10. And with that, and the fact that we are reaching the end of our journey, because we're almost at the end of the map, I would like to conclude this video. The other games that I didn't rank them because I haven't finished them, so I don't think I should. So this is the very end of the map. I can't do much because these people won't let me pass. As you can see, I'm not even fighting. I just want to reach the end. Let's see if I make it. Yes, I do. Yes, I did. So the end of the road is this one here. I was not expecting that control point to have enemies. So I came here with the car before we did the whole walk and there was anybody. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Now is when we check how long it took. And according to the timer, since I have two, so that's 20. Yes, stop. That's 48, 30 minutes. So it's pretty much 50. Like I said before, 50 minutes. That's where we're gonna leave the duration of our trip. 50 minutes. That's all it took. So with that, I'm gonna end this video. How big is EOS? Well, now you know. 50 minutes walk. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.